Hello, and welcome to this edition of the Bill Crane Report. Tonight I'm joined by Dwayne Weiss, and we are ably assisted by Katie Woodhams. Tonight we will examine issues, cut away the malarkey, or as Nancy Pelosi once said, the fog, and give you folks the straight scoop. Now, as Jackie Gleason always said, and away we go. Now, I've got a lot of stuff to go through tonight, but first of all, and most importantly, I'm going to give you the climate update for tonight. Former Vice President Al Gore predicted by 2014 that the polar ice caps would be totally melted this year and would be no more. Well, the facts are that globally, when all temperatures are averaged, there's been no temperature increase for 19 years. And in the last 2 years, the polar ice caps have increased 1 million square miles. I guess the former vice president might have got it wrong, Dwayne.
Well, not only that, today Rapid City, South Dakota had 2 inches of snow already.
Well, Al would probably say that's a Republican plot.
Apparently.
Well, I have quite a few things, but let's start off with 9/11. Tonight is the anniversary, of course, is 9/11 of 2014.
I see there was a scattering of remembrance and ceremonies around.
Yeah. Now, where were you when it happened?
Oh, it was
Dwayne?
vivid. I worked out of my house. I was on the road. I had an office at home. And I'm having coffee in the morning. I'm sitting at the kitchen table and I had the radio on. And somebody said they just got a report that a plane had hit the World Trade Center. So I thought, man, I says, the planes have hit the World Trade Center before, like the Empire State Building before.
Right.
The B-25 hit it during World War II,
exactly
and some
right.
small planes have crashed. So I assumed it was some, student pilot or somebody off
in a Piper Cub.
Yeah, and it smacked into it. And I said, well, I just go around, turn on CNN or Fox. I see this massive smoke coming out of this building. And as I sat there and watched it, out of the right side of the screen, I see another aircraft approaching. My first inclination was, what stupid aircraft aircraft controller would allow another airliner to fly that close to that building? And boom, he hits it too. I thought, oh, there's something going on here.
Yeah.
Man, after that, I was riveted on the couch for the whole day then.
Yeah, that's pretty common. Everybody more or less stopped what they were doing. And I was flying to Denver. And, of course, I flew out of Logan. Now,
Were you airborne?
I flew out of Greene down in Providence. Every single flight, I think, of my entire working career was out of Greene. And I couldn't get a flight out of Greene for under $1,400 to Denver. I got one for $400 out of Boston. And for one time, I went to Logan Airport, and guess what? I was on a big plane, like they were hijacking, a 757, and I flew down to Philadelphia for our connection. And then from there, it was going to go to Denver. Well, I got on the plane, and then the pilot said, folks, we're going to kind of move around New York. They've got some traffic problems, so we're going to take a wide berth around New York. And it's going to add a little to the flight, but we'll get you there for your connection, don't worry. And we landed. Then as soon as we landed, then the captain came on and told us there were some problems up in New York. A plane had crashed into the Twin Towers. So I got out of the plane and was going to go get my connection. And I'm walking by one of the kiosks, the snack bars, and I looked up and I see the building, the smoke, and I see the second plane.
Yeah.
And I said to myself, oh my God. Well, I was looking at a replay, but I didn't know that. And from that point on, I got actually got on the plane headed for Denver. And then they took us back off. And they said, we're grounded, you're grounded. So I called Holiday Inn and I got a room and I was there for, I think, 4 days.
Yeah, you're probably fortunate that you weren't halfway there.
Yeah, oh
And
yeah.
You got dumped someplace that you couldn't get back.
Yeah, yeah, that would have been gross. What are your thoughts today about 9/11?
Well, obviously it was a major, major tragedy. And I think it was a bigger tragedy than most people know.
Yeah, oh yeah.
It was so fundamentally against what we stand for.
Yeah.
And it just violated us as it hurt. It literally hurt.
It hurt. Now, there's no question about that, and that's well put. I was trying to figure out as I was writing this, what are my thoughts? And my thoughts are, I hope that we are protecting ourselves as best we can to avoid another 9/11. I hope that the folks down in Washington have got this under control as best they can anyway.
I'm not sure that targeting, well, it could be. No one really knows. But I suspect, from what I've read and what I've heard, and if you think logically about it, the next targets are not going to be hard targets. They're going to be the soft targets because you can't defend them.
Yeah. You know what, and I hate to say this because I don't want to be the harbinger of something
Oh, yeah,
bad,
of course.
but, a plane flown into an NFL stadium on a Sunday
Oh,
would wreak havoc, to say
course.
the least. And I worry about stuff like that, I hope my boys down in Washington are on top of their game.
yeah, I do too.
Yeah. The president's speech last night. You watched it?
Parts of it.
Yeah.
So I didn't sit through the whole thing.
Oh, it was only 15 minutes anyway. Anything jump out at you, or?
Well, the fact that ISIS has nothing to do with Islam is
Yeah.
ridiculous.
That was one of the more fantastic things in his speech.
I heard somebody say today, and I don't know, this is not my statement, but it was his. He said it was very, very appropriate. It says, saying that ISIS has nothing to do with Islam is like saying Dunkin' Donuts has nothing to do with donuts.
Well said and well put by that gentleman, I'll tell you. This, and I have that note here too, in my little notes here. At the end of the speech too, he said, and I'm paraphrasing,
right.
and and it's, oh, by the way, they're killing Christians over there too. Well, it's genocide over there.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, they're after Jews, they're after Christians, there's intertribal warfare over there, but there's a bad outfit.
Oh,
ISIS,
ISIS,
mighty bad outfit.
yeah, ISIS, and so little is really known about them.
Yeah.
That's what's scary.
Yeah.
Some say they're offshoot from Al Qaeda.
Yeah, they're a splinter group, I guess,
Yeah.
from Al Qaeda. And you know what else is interesting too, is that up in Syria, you've got Assad fighting a rebel group, and you've also got him fighting another rebel group under ISIS.
That's right.
So he's got two guys that are rebelling against him, and jeepers, neither one of them is a good deal.
No. And you have to be so careful
Yeah.
on who we throw in with, because if we throw in with one and arm this one, those arms might be coming back right at us.
Yeah, we don't want them shooting stuff back at us. That's for bloody well sure. Well, you're absolutely.
We found that in Afghanistan.
Oh yeah,
When the
sure.
Russians were there, we gave them
Yeah.
Stinger missiles and et cetera, and
Yeah.
next thing you know, they're aimed back at us.
Oh yeah, yeah. One other thing emerged through all of this, the president's press corps. They talked about the speech and all, the upcoming speech, and one other note I wanted to make too is the president said we don't have a strategy for ISIS. Is this the strategy, what he enumerated last night? Because if it is, it's sketchy at best.
That was not a strategy.
No,
Because you couldn't, a strategy, you have to be able to line out A, B, C, D, and E.
Yeah.
But you couldn't do anything with that last
No.
night. It was if this, if that,
It was
perhaps this, if we can do this.
Yes, it was. Well, here's a parameter here, and here's a thought here, and here's a hope here, and I wasn't impressed.
No, I don't think anybody was. The press was not
No.
really impressed with it
well,
either.
because it's funny because in reading between the lines, especially over on MSNBC that I switched to briefly this morning, they were all up in arms. Here we go, boots on the ground. So his own left wing is opposing this.
Oh, yeah.
And he's looking to the Republicans.
For support on
Yeah,
this. Yeah.
for support, especially in Congress.
Yeah. Well, times make strange bedfellows. You
Well,
know?
they sure do. The other thing, too, and I alluded to, was that the press corps started kind of leaking stuff out. They said, well, also next week, they said, we'll talk more about some other things later, but they said, well, immigration's going to be postponed now till after the election. Then, also, without any prompting, and the president has decided to put off the decision on the Keystone Pipeline till after the election. Where did that come from?
That's such a cop-out.
I mean, it's a done deal. It ain't going to happen. But somewhere along the lines, they decided, well, we'll get more votes if we say that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
These things all come down to politics.
Of course.
That's what's...
And they're playing politics with our soldiers, with our young people over there, and putting them in harm's way. I guess it's been that way forever, but not a good deal. Moving right along to another subject, the Globe, our favorite newspaper, their polling data on the gubernatorial election here in Massachusetts was interesting once again. They had Coakley on the 5th of September, a scant 4 days before the election, or 3 days before the election. They had her leading by 22 points.
Oh, yeah, I know where you're going with that.
Yeah, and guess what? She won by 6.
Yeah, the gap narrowed there at the end.
Now, so my question to you, young man, you've been showing promise, so I'm going to throw a hot potato at you. Is her support soft, or are the polling data at the Globe suspect?
You're asking somebody who always thought the polling data at the Globe was suspect.
Or all of the above?
Yeah, all of the above for sure. But I think there's the undecided voter, independent voter, is going to make a big difference with her.
Yeah. They showed some stuff, too, that now they've withdrawn it, of course, but they showed some stuff that said that her support was pretty soft.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They really felt that there were some people that, well, we'll vote for her, but anywho, will we ever have, this is another hot potato for you, will we ever have a cogent, fair, decent policy towards Cuba? We snarl, spit, and express all sorts of frustration over the fact that the Israelis and the Palestinians will not talk to one another, they will not communicate, they won't seek common ground. Yet we won't even discuss Cuba.
That's unfortunate because that's the isolation of Cuba and the situation in Cuba, that ship has sailed.
It has.
A long time ago.
And what we're continuing to do, is to hurt the poor people.
Yeah, exactly.
The rich people are going to have money, the military is going to have money, they're going to live well, but the poor people, their lives just go further and further down the drain.
We still have that element, particularly in Florida, the Cubans that live there.
Right.
that just are very hard-nosed and don't want anything changed on that.
That's part of the
They
problem.
influence. They do a lot of
Yeah.
influence.
Well, there's an awful lot of Cubans
Yeah.
in South Florida. Yeah. But boy, I'll tell you,
It's time that this thing just opens up.
it
Because
how long can
Yeah.
we do this?
if you want to take a country like that and pull them away from communism or socialism and bring them into a democracy or democratic thing, the worst thing you want to do is isolate them, because that government now can shape and form opinions and ideas just the way they want.
Of course.
Open it up. Let the people see. Is this how they live?
Yeah.
My God, look at the houses they live in. Look at this. Look at that. We don't have it so great after all. Then all of a sudden they start looking.
It's like going to a dance and you see a nice looking girl over there and you say, I'd like to go dance with her. And you go over and just stand and grunt at her.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not communicating. You're not trying to put your best foot forward. And we're certainly not doing anything along those
No, we're
lines
not.
with the Cubans.
That's just long, long overdue.
It's a bloody shame is what it is.
Plus, it's going to be a built market for U.S. products.
Listen, do you remember back before Castro? I mean, that was a playground for Americans.
Oh, absolutely.
There was beautiful hotels down there. There was gambling casinos. El Comandante racetrack was down there. There was a winter spot for lots and lots of tourists. That could be a very rich island.
This is going to be a great automotive market if it opens up.
Yeah,
They still got old 57 Chevys.
They
that
don't
are
have
running
anything
around.
newer than 59 down there, except a few Toyotas they
Yep.
found. Well, anywho, okay. Now I'm going to really jump ship here and change. I read a piece in the paper, and it was basically, or I heard it on TV. Now I forget which, but it was the Republicans are sort of really giggling about what's going to happen in the midterm elections. Is it going to be 7 or 8 seats we're going to gain in the Senate? And, holy cow, we are riding this horse something fierce. And the election hasn't been held yet.
No,
What are we doing counting our chickens before?
I don't know. I believe sometimes they believe they have a crystal ball.
Yeah.
Nobody does. You don't know what's going to happen.
So I said to myself, I got to give the Republican Party some advice. First thing, never mind just criticizing Obama. He's been a total disaster. Let's talk about our beliefs. And here's a few things that we should be talking about. The water crisis.
Oh, my.
California, Texas, Oklahoma, New Mexico. And the part of that drought goes further north than that, too.
And it affects all of us.
Yeah,
Every one
really
of us.
does. Well, the price of food
Yep.
goes up, or certain things become scarce.
Yep.
But yet, no one's talking about the water crisis. Now, you are a very smart young man, and you're showing a lot of promise here. So I'm going to run this one by you.
Okay.
Come spring, and the Mississippi River floods something fierce. Why can't we bypass some of that water to? I realize it would take huge pipelines and huge projects, but fill some of these artificial lakes back up again, rather than just let that water go in the ocean. We need to be doing something in desalinization plants. The Saudis have been doing desalinization plants. We did a big one when I was with the Foxborough Company at Jeddah. It was a huge, huge project.
There is one of the California towns that has reinstituted or reactivated their desalinization.
Yeah. But they have to be built much larger.
Oh, yeah.
And more of them. Yeah. But we got to get serious about this because, it's a funny thing that as our population increases, all these little critters being born need to drink.
Yeah.
And we need to find new sources of water.
As far as capturing the Mississippi River, theoretically, it could be done.
Yeah.
It's
I do this.
We're just talking billions of dollars.
I have these ideas, and when I have my fits of madness. Now, darn it. Well, also, Well, let's talk about an energy policy. Certainly the president has never talked about an energy policy. Let's stress ours. Jobs, our plans. Remember 2 or 3 years ago he pronounced himself the jobs president.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was in name only because he hasn't done a bloody thing about creating jobs. In fact, the jobs created last month were the lowest,
Lowest,
this
yep.
year, 142,000. So let's trumpet what we plan to do. Immigration, the plan that we will pass. Race relations. The president has had 6 years to begin a dialogue and has punted. It's time the Republicans had an honest, totally honest discussion. No politics, no mind-numbing rhetoric and posturing by the Al Sharptons and the Jesse Jacksons of the world, but sit down and explain in a calm fashion what our stand is on race relations. And let's get some honesty out on the table.
That's very difficult to do without getting a lot of rhetoric, a lot of emotions in it. And for the two individuals that you named,
Yeah.
they are, if there's a camera, they're there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No question. No question. Well, let's be honest. Doing away with Obamacare is going to be damn close to impossible. But we've got to redo it. I mean, there is so many excesses in it. But there's a couple of good things. The transportation, that you can carry it from job
Yeah,
to job. And pre-existing conditions. And, there is some decent things there. But we got to clean it up and trim it down to size.
Well, the problem was that it was pushed through too fast. They did nothing for a long time. Then they thought they were coming up to a deadline of some invisible wall or deadline, and they pushed it at 11th hour, just push it through.
Well.
Nobody knew what was in it.
No, of course the Democrats locked themselves away and worked on that. Nancy Pelosi's team worked on that, and they wouldn't allow any Republican input at all.
No. The thing's what, 6,000 pages or something?
Yeah, it's
huge.
Well, it just keeps growing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Enact the basic tenets of the Simpson-Bowles Commission findings. You know, how to keep Social Security alive and well, Medicare alive and well. And the simple, but, kind of tough things to do that we're going to have to face up to doing. And,
Oh, yeah.
just one other thing, too, is we have this wing of our party that just does not want to talk about taxes. Tax increases are off the table, not going to talk about them. Well, that's very short-sighted. Because
Absolutely.
we're going to have to do some things to balance off Social Security and to balance off Medicare and Medicaid. And if it's an extra nickel on the gas tax, the federal gas tax, or whatever it is, we have to face up to it and say, do we want this to balance out? And if we do, we're going to have to pay a little bit more for it.
It wouldn't take a lot, from what I've read,
That's right.
to fix Social Security.
Yep.
Or Medicare, Medicaid.
That's right.
It just takes a little bit, and somebody with the people with the guts enough to do it.
You're absolutely right.
I don't think that the average consumer, wage earner here, really would mind a small rate.
$5 a week?
Easy. Yeah.
Yeah,
That would the little things.
You
And
know,
just take the waste out of it.
Absolutely.
Social Security is being raided from every different direction that you can imagine.
amen, brother. Yeah. And it's like liar's poker.
Yep.
The Democrats are not going to suggest something because for fear the Republicans are going to say, "Oh, you fool! You can't do it." And so the Democrats sit on their haunches, and the Republicans aren't going to suggest anything because the Democrats are going to go for the throat.
You've always got these elements on each end of the party.
That's
the
exact-
left's got some way over here. The right's got somebody way over here.
And that's why the Simpson Bowles, those 6 guys, I think did a fantastic job. Well, because I've always liked Alan Simpson anyway. I always thought he was a hell of a guy. Okay. Cut the business tax rate drastically. Our 35% business tax rate is the highest of any industrialized nation.
Yeah, I was surprised when I did read about that.
Yeah. Rebuild the military. No, by the way, our military now is at the lowest ebb since, I think, 1948. Rebuild the military. No country was ever attacked for being too strong. We must help defend ourselves, must be able to defend ourselves and help our allies. Rebuilding the military is a win-win proposition. Instead of high unemployment among young men, pay them in the Army, the Navy, the Marines, or the Air Force. They get good pay, super benefits, and accrue funds for a paid college education upon discharge. And they get the benefits for the U.S., a safer country / world, pay for young men, on-the-job training, enrich their lives through education, travel, you get education benefits, and helping them achieve a stable maturity.
Great.
All of those are winning propositions.
Sure.
Boy, I'll tell you, to me, that's just a no-brainer. Our infrastructure is really gone to hell in a handbasket in this country.
Very, very shaky.
Yep. And it's got to be acted on soon. Yeah.
Yeah. The longer you wait, the worse it's going to get.
Oh, absolutely. And you know, a real VA housing plan and a jobs plan, a real one, where not only do they get a good interest rate, but maybe get assistance with a down payment to buy a home. And a jobs plan where they go to the head of the list if they're qualified, just like it was right after World War II.
I was just going to say we did that after World War II.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right.
We had millions of returning GIs that we had to accommodate, and we did.
Yep. We also need to remember that we're the stewards of the environment and of wildlife and act responsibly and wisely. We need to get involved forcefully and aggressively to build the fisheries in the Atlantic. The cod, haddock, and striped bass population has been reduced to very low, if not dangerous levels. And you know, I understand the guys, the fishermen with the boats, and they're saying, look, how else am I going to feed my family unless I go out there and fish? Well, yeah, but if our cod are only at a level of 5% of what they were 20 years ago.
Where they're on the danger of total collapse.
How much longer do you think this is going to last?
Yeah, it's self-destructive.
Yeah. I mean, very bad. And stop the Cape Wind project and all the other expensive green boondoggles until alternative energy is cost-effective. Forget about it. I don't want to pay more for this, especially a lot more. And bottom line, stop criticizing Obama. The nation knows he's an inept stick figure, and if we insist on beating on him, he'll become pitiable, and we'll look like sadistic bullies. Promote and emphasize our plans and core beliefs. Remember, we're supposed to be the adults.
That's right.
How's that for a game plan?
That's good.
All right. Now, what do you got? You got something good?
Well, just the other night, I came across his name is Dr. Zuhdi Jasser. He's an MD, and he's wrote a book called Battle for the Soul of Islam. The book is new. I intend to read it, but I haven't read it yet. And he said that the way that the direction that Islam is going, particularly in different parts of the world, it's going to be turned to a religion that nobody's going to recognize.
It's becoming so radicalized.
Yeah, it's so radicalized.
Yeah.
And there's more radicalization going on, he said, than anybody really realizes.
Yeah.
And he said, and according to him, something has to be done, it has to be stopped.
Yep. When you get that book, let me know.
Okay.
I'd like to read that too. In fact, we'll split the cost. How's
Good.
that?
Okay, sounds good.
All right. One thing I picked up in the news, people, we have to get along with the coyotes. Coyotes don't bother people. They are very shy.
I thought you had a plan for that already a couple years ago.
Oh, that's another plan.
Okay.
But, here's Taylor Mitchell, 19-year-old folk singer from Canada. And she was mauled
Oh, yeah, I
to
did.
death
Yep.
by two coyotes in a park in Nova Scotia. So all you folks that want to tell me that they're just, they're gentle, they're shy, they're bashful, they don't bother people, tell that to Taylor. Because that's a bunch of malarkey. Do you have any any comments or predictions on the Scottish referendum?
I don't know. I'm curious to what's going to happen there.
Yeah,
And I guess if you're involved in it, it's split
it is.
right down the middle
Yeah.
practically.
And they're saying now it's a toss-up. They felt before, like 3 weeks ago, a month ago, they're going to stay with Great Britain. It just makes too much economic sense. But sometimes just declaring your independence is a Pyrrhic victory. Never mind whether it costs us in the long run. It felt good to do it.
But isn't Scotland resource rich for that group?
Well,
With
they do
North
have
Sea
some oil, yeah. But they're going to be cut off from. I don't know how they're going to work it with
I don't
the
either.
health plan, with retirements, and all of that. If they declare independence, what are they going to use for currency?
But you look at what's happening there and what's happening in Ukraine or Syria or any place else. Here, this is going to go to a vote. It's going to happen or it doesn't happen. There's not going to be any shootings and blowing up people and blowing up buildings.
A couple of guys might get drunk and fall down
Yeah.
and hit their heads, but
But it's just how those different societies
Yep.
accept change.
you're a wise man. Yep, no question about it. We're housebroken, I guess, would be a good term.
I hope we are.
We go about things reasonably, or sort of. Now, would you like to be unreasonable for a moment?
Sure, go
Would
ahead.
you like to get mad?
Yeah.
All right.
Do that about 3 times a day anyway.
Veterans likened to Oscar the Grouch. The Philadelphia Inquirer obtained a VA training slideshow with tips for employees on how to help veterans with their claims. It was shown to VA employees staffing events with veterans in Philadelphia. About a dozen slides included pictures of the grumpy Sesame Street character who lives in a trash can. The sideshow said the veterans might be demanding and unrealistic and advised staffers on what to say to Oscar the Grouch.
That was insulting.
Veterans groups called the comparison insulting, especially after a VA scandal over veterans' health care. But now, here comes the Lollapalooza of the week. A VA spokesman told the Inquirer the agency regretted any misunderstanding. The training provided was not intended to equate veterans with this character, spokeswoman Marissa Prugsauen said. Well, if it wasn't intended to equate veterans with this character, what was the character doing in the slideshow?
I think what they were trying to, the point they're getting across is veterans are going to act like children.
Yeah.
And that's it's not right.
No, it's not. Veterans were over there. They got shot at. They got their legs blown off, arms blown off, and to have some condescending knucklehead be trained to treat them like Oscar the Grouch is absolute. If that woman, that spokeswoman, if she's not fired,
Nothing will happen.
no, nothing.
If you take that kind of situation and turn it around,
yeah.
put it in a different scenario. Oh my God, they couldn't. They'd be beside themselves, falling all over it.
Amen, brother. Well, all right. Now we're good and mad, right? Have you made up your bucket list?
Oh, my whole list. Well, first of all, I got to hit the lottery.
I keep saying that too.
Yeah, there's a few things I like. Honestly, I want to do a hot air balloon ride.
A hot air balloon ride.
Yeah, oh yeah, that was a. And,
Well, maybe for your next birthday.
yeah, I don't think so. If it is, it's going to be alone. She already told me that. I'm not getting in that thing. I had one, and then she gave me for Christmas one year was to fly a sailplane or a glider. Mm-hmm. That was unbelievable, and I always liked airplanes. But, it was even more than I thought it was going to be.
Really?
Went to
Yeah.
Plymouth, and they took you up for an hour and gave you the stick, and let you.
Yeah. Wow.
It was great. I don't know if I could do it today. I don't think I could fit in it.
What else you got on your bucket list?
I want to tour Europe.
Yeah.
I'm not really interested in Eastern Europe.
No.
There's Western Europe. I'd like to do and we have not been to Europe. We've been to Caribbean and different places, but never to Europe. And I don't know why. Right now we're getting brochures. We went to the AAA travel show in the spring and got some contacts, and we would like to. Now we got time, and just to start seeing what the rest of the world's like.
Pretty neat. Yeah. Because I did a lot of my touring when I was with Uncle Sam. But I did get to go over to Sweden when we were owned by a Swedish company, with the company I worked for. And I've been to Holland and briefly to Austria, just across the border and then back again. I enjoyed the heck out of it. I had a lot of fun over there. All right. Now, I struggled with this one. But the selfie theft. Whoever it was that stole nude photos of some of the movie stars or whatever.
I didn't do it. Don't look
No,
at me.
and then posted them on the internet.
Yeah.
That, first of all, I mean, what kind of sick pervert would do something like that in the first place? But how about these people putting that kind of stuff up on?
Why are they out there?
Yeah, why are they out there? Good question.
You can't do anything today
With
that involves computers or
Yeah.
internet.
Yeah.
You have to expect it's going to be out there for everybody to see
That's right. Yeah. Now,
or read or whatever it is.
Now, I wouldn't have even bothered commenting on this story, but I just loved the Globe. They had to write an editorial, and their punchline is beautiful. First of all, they say it's a gross invasion of privacy. Well, okay. Mm-hmm. They broke federal anti-hacking laws and should be caught and prosecuted. Okay. Again. Now, we need to revisit our laws to cover computer-related infractions. Okay, no argument.
Yep.
Some states treat this sort of thing as sort of like peeping toms and trespassing laws and Voyager laws. And the Globe, however, has a little sterner outlook on it. The Globe, after stating we need to get serious, then suggests the following. The punishment for stealing nude selfies should reflect the sense of violation that victims feel. Congress needs to refine the Computer Fraud Act and better tailor the possible punishments to the circumstances of specific crimes. So I guess one size fits all, that idea is pretty well gone.
Apparently.
And now we have to quiz the victims to find out the level of humiliation or angst that they have felt.
I don't know why this drew such ire and attention from the Globe for this particular item. When somebody hacks or sets out a virus that does $1 billion worth of damage, you don't see any reaction like
No,
this.
well, that's companies that are being
Yeah,
hurt.
well.
Yeah. Which, my final note, have you noticed any tough, hard-hitting editorials about those who leak sensitive government secrets?
Or that too, yep.
CIA agents'
Exactly.
names, etc., which no doubt caused their deaths?
Yep.
Has the Globe really gone to bat for
Not at all.
punishing these people?
Not at all.
Heck
But-
no. Well, anyway. Very embarrassing today. News story from Fox News. We know all about the IRS scandal. We won't go back over that again.
Oh my, that's-
But the Department of Justice called Elijah Cummings, who is the ranking Democrat on the committee that's chaired by Darrell Issa, that's investigating
Right.
these things. Well, they thought they called Elijah Cummings. They called Darrell Issa's office instead by mistake. And they asked, what documents should we leak to the press?
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy.
Can you imagine that?
Yeah, but I don't think it's going to go anyplace.
It's not. No,
No.
no, it won't. The mainstream news won't pick it up.
No.
Nope.
Not at all.
The Redskins. The name the Redskins. Share some wisdom with me about that, will you?
Big hullabaloo over nothing.
Have absolutely nothing. But you know what? Being a practical and very bright young lad, I have a solution for the whole thing.
Go ahead.
All sports get together,
Yep.
all right? And in the National Football League, I think there's 32 teams, either 30
Yeah,
or 32
32.
teams. 32 teams, okay? And you number them 1 through 32.
Team number
That's
one,
it.
team two, playing team two.
The Oakland Ones, the San Diego Twos, the Denver Threes, the New England Patriot, the New England 40, the New I can't even talk. The New England 13s, and so on.
I would take it if I was the owner of the Washington Redskins and they want to get nasty about it. Just change it to something like the Congressional Idiots.
That'd be too close to the truth.
Yeah.
Well, in the amazing events department, I do have an amazing event here that I need to tell you about that I think you'll enjoy. Well, not enjoy, but you'll certainly wonder about. There's a fellow up in New Hampshire that had a 6,000-pound boulder in his yard, and he spent months digging around it, trying to extricate it.
I think I know where that's going.
Yeah, he was working on it Monday. The boulder became dislodged, pinned him between it and the wall of the ditch and killed him.
Yeah.
Yep, they had to have a wrecker come down and haul it off him. Why do people do things like this?
It's mind blowing. It is.
I mean, yikes.
You see these video clips that some of these programs have, the reality shows.
Yeah.
I kind of like to watch them sometimes, but they're so stupid. The guy's got this big tree, and he cuts it and it falls right on his house. Well, you could see that was going to happen the way the thing was hanging there.
I got another one. This one will entitle Free at Last. Bobby Lee Pearson, 37, was tried, and they had a hung jury, 8-4, but they, by mistake, signed the not guilty paperwork. And the judge said, it's been made out, it's been signed,
Yep.
he has got to be not guilty and freed. Well, Bobby Lee went home. After being released from jail, Pearson went home to get some clothing and belongings when he apparently got into a fight with his sister's boyfriend, Fresno Police Sergeant James Rio said. The two had a long history of problems, adding that the boyfriend stabbed and killed Pearson, who was found dead at the scene.
Yeah.
So he gets released, gets a new lease on life, and goes home and gets into a
blows
big
it right
fight.
out of
Yeah.
the water.
Good Lord, it's so pathetic. It's funny, but it's not funny. The aging process is an ugly thing. Do you know, I was thinking about this, well, I've been thinking about this for quite a while, but, you know, the long-term health insurance market, they insure you, but then they get some new data in and they raise the premiums and lower the benefits. It doesn't stay the same to the contract that you signed. You know, I really think the government's going to get involved in this and form up an insurance company or work out deals with a couple of insurance companies and hold their feet to the fire and just say, look, here's what we want. Can you do it for this kind of money? Because I have never, and maybe I'm stupid. There's no maybe about that, folks. But I've never bought long-term health care insurance. And I really worry that maybe I should have. But now at 73, almost
Never have
74, number one, you know, after being in the hospital with the blood clots, in my age, you know, it would probably cost about $700,000 a year in premiums.
It would be prohibitive.
Yeah, and but it seems to me that we have parts A, B, C, and D of Medicare, maybe Part E also. It's about time we thought about Part F. I'm not saying it has to be a giveaway price, but it's got to be something reasonable.
Right.
Honesty is the best policy. With your friend and mine, Joe Biden. And this is great. You know what? Joe is crazy, a wild man, but he's right here. Vice President Joe Biden, well, he's right to a certain degree here. Joe Biden on Friday condemned the political gridlock crippling Washington, calling on Republican and Democrat governors alike to lead the nation out of this mess, while insisting that Congress approve billions of dollars to repair the country's aging infrastructure. I'm not singling out any party or any group of people. The politics, the culture in Washington has become too personal, it's too corrosive, Biden said during a meeting of the National Governors Association. I think you've got to lead us out of the mess we're in. Now, Joe obviously hasn't really read the Constitution lately and figured out that it's not the governors that do this, it's the federal government, you know, which he's part of. But nonetheless, wow, what an admission that we can't handle it in Washington. You individual governors have got to pull the fat out of the fire.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
No, it's definitely not going to happen. But it's just amazing to me that he actually said all that stuff.
Well, at least he was cognizant of what's going on this time. He didn't put his foot in his mouth or anything.
Why has the president postponed his scheduled immigration action until after the election? Do you believe him when he says, we are making sure we have all the I's dotted and the T's crossed? Or is he spoofing us?
He is absolutely spoofing. It's delayed just for that reason, after the election.
Golly-a-roe.
Yep, there's no other reason.
Boy, you're just cutting right to it. And now, we're about set for me to really, well, here's something.
I got one thing for you.
Okay, go ahead.
This is, remember back in the first show, we talked about, what was it, a BMW or Mercedes, who would need that car?
Yeah.
I just read that the United States is going to have the world's smallest recall. If you bought a Porsche Spyder 918 for $900,000, it's got a recall. You know how many there are in this country?
6.
5. So,
well,
even a $900,000 Porsche can get a recall.
The dealers ought to be able to handle
That's right. And you know what was wrong?
No.
A bolt could snap and the rear wheels could come off.
Well, that sort of messes up your day when that happens, I'll tell you.
What do you expect for $900,000?
That's it. Now, let me tell you something. Do you ever get these things in the
Oh,
mail?
yeah. Yep, all the time.
Constantly, right? And what do? They list 9 billion television channels.
Oh boy, yep.
Yep. Why?
We're paying for so many that we don't use.
That's the point. That's the point, exactly. How about Al Jazeera America? I don't usually look at that. Animal Planet.
Some of them. I watched Al Jazeera when it first came on the air to see what they were going to do.
I did too. They've got all these kid programs, but they also got Thriller Max and 85 different movie channels. And here's the Recipe Channel, My Destination Channel, Logo Channel. It just goes on and on. Why can't we, with us as technically advanced as we are, why can't I sit down and say, I want the following 15 channels
That's
into
been
my
proposed.
house
It's called,
and pay me?
They called it a la carte.
Yeah, a la carte. That's
So you
right.
can
That's what I
pick-
wrote
yeah,
down.
yeah.
And I will pay per channel. But don't give, well, I hate to tell you at home, but I get like 175 channels.
Yeah, we do too.
Yeah. I mean, this is madness.
Then you get down to the 700s and they're all Spanish.
Yeah. Well, I like some of them. Yeah.
I don't speak Spanish that well.
I don't listen to them. They do have very exciting women on them, though.
Okay.
And by the way, we've got time, I think, for one more. And Shanna Shaw would like her license back.
I bet she would.
She has 39 citations over 2 years, and she drove an MBTA bus almost off the road
Yep.
and off the cliff, down onto a road beneath. She was accused of, first of all, she made up an excuse that she sneezed, and that's lost control of the bus. Later on, after they said, well, we want to see your cell phone, she admitted she was on the cell phone.
I don't think she was even supposed to have the cell phone on the
She
bus.
wasn't. Absolutely not. And they lose their job because of that.
Yep.
But she also lost her license. MBTA spokesman Joe Pesaturo said Shaw was allowed to operate a bus despite her driving record because her license was not suspended. The registry does not report driving infractions to the T as long as the driver's license is active and in good standing. So you can have 39 citations
Yep.
for terrible driving and still drive for the MBTA.
Makes no
as
sense.
long as you've gotten your license back.
Makes no sense.
Doesn't make any sense at all. None whatsoever. And now, my friends, it is my sad duty to tell you that it's time for us to sign off. Yes, our time for tonight is over. So, our time is up for this edition of our show, but the search for the truth will continue. Please join us next time as we will shine light into the dark corners and watch what scurries and slithers out. Until then, have patience and courage as we work to peel back the layers of confusion, despair, and frustration, and reveal the truth and show you the right path to success and fulfillment. With thanks to our panel, Dwayne, and our terrific producer, Katie Woodhams, we wish you all a most pleasant good evening.
Good night.